This video is about this single mom sat inside the garden and a rich stranger returned her lost scarf. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The cool breeze danced through the rows of vibrant flowers in Claire's small garden, a colorful kaleidoscope that had become her refuge amidst the chaos of motherhood. She sat on a weathered wooden bench, a cup of lukewarm chamomile tea cradled between her palms, glancing at her daughter, Sophie, who was lost in her world of vibrant crayons and paper. With every stroke of her crayon, Sophie created fantastical landscapes, each drawing a vivid reflection of her imagination. Claire watched her, a bittersweet smile gracing her lips. There was joy in the mundane, she reminded herself. Yet, beneath the surface, she felt the weight of her solitude, the quiet ache of longing for companionship. It had been 3 years since her divorce, and while she had managed to carve out a life for herself and Sophie, nights were often the hardest. Alone, the silence of the house echoed her loneliness. Claire sighed, tucking a stray hair behind her ear as she turned her gaze to the garden's entrance, where the iron gate creaked open. It was then that she saw him, a figure clad in a tailored navy suit, casually strolling through the archway adorned with climbing roses. Intrigued, Claire's breath caught slightly in her throat. He was striking, tall, with a presence that radiated confidence and an air of mystery. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice rich and warm, breaking through her reverie. "Is this where I might find the owner of this scarf?" He held it up, her favorite, a delicate piece of cashmere in a deep cerulean, one she thought lost forever. Recognition washed over her, a memory flickering back to a chaotic afternoon at the market when the scarf had slipped from her shoulders in the rush. Claire stood, heart racing, as she stepped toward him. "That is mine, I can believe you found it." She laughed lightly, the tension easing slightly from her shoulders. "Thank you so much." "It was caught on a fence in the park nearby," he explained, stepping closer, the scent of cedarwood and fresh linen enveloping her in a surprisingly comforting embrace. "I couldn't just leave it there." Claire forced herself to look away from his deep green eyes, feeling a tingle of awareness at their intensity. "I appreciate it, really. I thought I'd never see it again." He smiled, and there was a flicker of something in that smile, recognition perhaps, or shared understanding. "I am Ethan, by the way. I often walk by that park. It is a lovely place, isn't it?" "Claire," she replied, her voice a shade softer than usual. "And yes, it is, perfect for a quiet moment, even if I rarely get many of those these days." Ethan's gaze softened, and Claire felt a rush of warmth at the attention. "Do you have a child?" he asked, nodding towards Sophie, who was now gleefully scribbling, oblivious to the world around her. "That is Sophie," Claire said, her heart swelling with pride. "She is my little artist in residence." Ethan's smile widened, genuine and disarming. "I'd love to see her masterpieces sometime. I am sure they rival the greats." A laugh escaped Claire, lightening the moment. "You might be overselling them, but I'll let you be the judge. How about a tour?" "I'd be honored," he replied, stepping closer, the distance between them shrinking. As she turned to lead him into the garden, Claire felt a flood of nerves. This was not how she had expected her day to unfold. With a stranger in her garden, her sanctuary, questions swirled in her mind. Was this a sign of something new, or simply a fleeting encounter? "To tell me about the flowers," Ethan suggested, his tone genuinely curious. "They were beautiful." Claire beamed, grateful for the chance to share this piece of her life. "Each one has a story. These daisies were the first flowers I planted after everything changed." Ethan nodded, his expression respectful. Change can be difficult. She could sense the weight behind his words, the glimmer of shared experiences. "It is, but I've learned to appreciate the little things, like finding my scarf again." "Sometimes it's the little things that matter most," he replied, his gaze lingering on her a moment longer than necessary. Claire's heart raced, the chemistry palpable. She hadn't felt this way in ages, an unexpected thrill that sent her senses alight. "What about you? What brings you here?" "I just moved into a house a few blocks away," Ethan revealed. "I thought I'd take a stroll and explore the neighborhood." "A new beginnings," Claire mused, happy for him yet grappling with the twinge of envy. "This exciting, finding a place you belong." Ethan's gaze turned contemplative, the spark of a deeper conversation lurking beneath. "It can be, but also intimidating," he admitted, glancing towards Sophie with a hint of longing. "I imagine being a single parent is a different kind of challenge altogether." "It is," Claire said slowly, weighing her words. "But it is also rewarding. Every day is a new adventure." "Do you think it is possible to find love again?" Ethan asked, his voice gentle yet probing, as if testing the waters. Claire's breath caught in her throat. Love? The thought had been a ghost haunting her, a flicker of desire often buried beneath the weight of reality. I don't know, she admitted, surprised at her own vulnerability. Ethan met her eyes, the intensity returning. It can be a scary question, he said softly. We've both been through a lot. There felt an unspoken understanding pass between them, a bond forged in shared experiences. I suppose it is, but I also think it is worth exploring, even if it takes time. Time, Ethan echoed, as if savoring the word. A precious commodity. Sophie, sensing a shift in their conversation, bounded over, crayon in hand. Mom, look at this. Her voice was bright, breaking the tension as she proudly displayed her drawing of a fantastical garden, complete with fairies and unicorns. Wow, that is amazing, Ethan exclaimed, kneeling to Sophie's level, his eyes sparkling with genuine admiration. Did you paint this all by yourself? Sophie nodded vigorously, her face lighting up with pride. Aha, and there is magic in every flower. Magic, he mused, glancing at Claire with a playful smile. Then I should probably watch out for fairies while I walk past your house. Claire chuckled, the atmosphere shifting once more, an easy warmth enveloping them. Sophie might just enlist you to keep an eye on them. As they continued to chat, Claire found herself drawn into Ethan's stories about his travels and family, his laughter mingling with Sophie's. The garden became a backdrop to their easy banter, the sun casting a glow that felt almost enchanted. Yet amidst the laughter, Claire felt the familiar tug of uncertainty. Could she really explore this connection? Was it wise to invite someone into her life, into Sophie's life, especially a man like Ethan, with a world so different from her own? As the afternoon waned, Ethan stood to leave, a reluctant smile on his lips. Thank you for sharing your garden with me, that is truly lovely, much like its owner. Heat rushed Claire's cheeks at the compliment, the flirty undertone both exhilarating and daunting. Thank you for returning my scarf, it meant a lot. Maybe I could return for another visit. I'd love to learn more about those magical fairies, he said, a hopeful glint in his eyes. Claire hesitated, the weight of her responsibilities pressing down on her. I do like that, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan held her gaze, and in that moment a silent understanding passed between them, a promise of possibility, a spark that could light the way to something more. As he turned to leave, Claire felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation swell within her. The world around her felt brighter, filled with the allure of something new. But the question remained, could she really open her heart again? With thoughts racing, she watched Ethan walk away, the distance between them growing, yet the memory of their encounter burned brightly in her mind. It was a flicker of hope amidst the shadows of uncertainty, a reminder that life had a way of surprising her when she least expected it. Claire found herself standing at the threshold of her garden, where the last rays of sunlight painted a warm golden hue across the blooms. She watched Ethan stroll away, the memory of the conversation still echoing in her mind. It lingered like the sweet scent of jasmine wafting through the air. As he disappeared down the path, Claire's heart raced with a blend of excitement and apprehension. Did she really just invite a man into her life? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. In those fleeting hours, she felt as if she had stepped into a world where loneliness was merely a shadow, but reality quickly crashed back in. Mom. Sophie called from the picnic blanket she had spread across the grass, her voice a chirpy reminder of their routine. Can we have a snack now? Of course, sweet pea. Claire replied, forcing herself to shift her focus away from Ethan. She headed toward the basket she depacked earlier, filled with slices of apple, cheese cubes, and the remnants of a half-eaten loaf of bread. As she set the spread before them, Sophie hopped over, her face still glowing with the joy of their encounter. Did you see how nice he was? He liked my drawing. Yes, he seemed to really enjoy it, Claire said, a smile creeping onto her lips as she ruffled Sophie's hair. You've got quite the talent, you know. Sophie grinned, her eyes sparkling. I think I'll paint him a fairy next time. Claire chuckled, a thought both amusing and alarming. Let us maybe wait until he visits again, okay? Okay. Sophie laughed, her enthusiasm infectious. But Claire's heart dropped at the thought of a next time. What would that mean for her? Did she want Ethan in their lives, or was this just a fleeting moment of reprieve? As twilight draped itself over the garden, Claire's phone buzzed, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. It was a message from her best friend, Mia. Asterisk Mia, how was your day? Did you meet anyone interesting? Asterisk. Claire hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen. Should she share? Could she explain the strange chemistry that had unfolded between her and Ethan? Instead, she typed a quick response. *** Claire, just a nice stranger who returned something I lost. Nothing more. ***. She pressed send, but the moment she did, doubt seeped in. Was that true? Wasn't there something more to it? Mia's reply came swiftly. ***, Mia, just a nice stranger. I sense a story brewing. ***. Claire laughed softly, shaking her head. She placed the phone down and turned to Sophie, who had already sunk her teeth into an apple slice, blissfully unaware of her mother's internal conflict. Do you want to go inside after this? Claire asked, trying to push the lingering thoughts of Ethan aside. Can we play outside a little longer? Sophie replied, her voice high-pitched with hope. Okay, just for a little while, Claire conceded. She couldn't deny her daughter's joy, even if it meant delaying her own introspection. The sun dipped lower, casting a gentle glow, and for a while they basked in the simplicity of the surroundings. Laughter and the soft rustle of the leaves filled the air. Yet the thought of Ethan lingered like a sweet perfume, lingering just enough to remind her of the thrill of connection. That night, as she tucked Sophie into bed, Claire replayed every moment of the day in her mind. She could still hear Ethan's rich laughter, the way his eyes sparkled with genuine interest. It felt safe and new, but the memory also brought with it the echo of past hurts. Mom. Sophie's sleepy voice broke through her reverie. Yes, honey? Are you happy? Sophie asked, her voice soft and curious. Claire hesitated, a lump forming in her throat. I am, sweet pea, I am very happy with you. But what about other people, like that nice man? Claire felt her heart twist. He is nice, but it was just a chance meeting. I am happy just the way things are. Sophie nodded, though Claire could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. Okay, Mom, but maybe it could be nice to have another friend. Maybe, Claire whispered, brushing a kiss against her daughter's forehead. Sleep tight, love. As she closed the door, the weight of Sophie's innocence pressed against her. Could she truly deny the possibility of companionship? Between the whispers of her heart and her daughter's innocent wishes, she felt trapped in a conflict of desires. The next day, Claire busied herself with chores, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The world felt quieter without Ethan's presence, and as she watered her plants, she found herself glancing towards the gate, half expecting him to stroll through. Instead, it was just another ordinary day, filled with the usual errands and chores. But as the afternoon sun warmed the sky, Claire felt a sudden urge to visit the park, the very place where she had lost her scarf. Maybe she would run into Ethan again? With Sophie in tow, they ventured towards the park. Claire's heart raced with each step, anticipation mingling with anxiety. What if he wasn't there? What if he was? Questions swelled in her mind like autumn leaves caught in a breeze. The park was buzzing with laughter and children playing, yet Claire felt a sense of longing amidst the chaos. Sophie darted ahead, chasing after a butterfly, her laughter ringing like chimes in the air. Mom, look at this! Sophie called out, her eyes wide with wonder as she knelt by a patch of daisies. Claire smiled, watching her daughter's delight. They were beautiful, Sophie. So pretty, I want to paint these too. Sophie exclaimed, her crayons already dancing in her mind. Claire chuckled, but her gaze drifted to the surrounding paths, searching. Just as she turned, she spotted a familiar figure in the distance. Ethan, leaning casually against a tree, looking effortlessly charming as he spoke with a group of people. Her heart leaped, but an unexpected wave of insecurity washed over her. Did she dare approach him? What is wrong, Mom? Sophie asked, her voice drawing Claire back. Nothing, honey, just surprised, she replied, forcing a smile. Let us go say hello. As they approached, Claire felt her composure falter, caught between the desire to reconnect and the fear of what that would mean. Ethan's face lit up as he recognized them, his eyes sparkling like the morning sun. Claire, Sophie, what a lovely surprise. Hi, we just came to look at the flowers, Sophie announced, her excitement bubbling over. Ah, I see. Taking inspiration for your next masterpiece, he asked, kneeling to Sophie's level, his attention wholly focused on her. Yes, do you want to see my new drawing? Sophie asked eagerly. Ethan's expression turned genuinely curious. Absolutely, when can I see it? Claire stood to the side, watching their exchange, her heart warmed by Ethan's charm with Sophie. But a flicker of doubt crept in. Was he genuinely interested, or was he merely being kind to a child? Ethan rose to his feet, turning to Claire, his demeanor shifting slightly. I was just taking a walk. Mind if I join you? That would be fine, Claire said, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. As they strolled together, Sophie excitedly pointed out the flowers, and Claire couldn't help but steal glances at Ethan. His laughter was easy, his presence magnetic. But with each shared moment, the tension within her grew, an inner conflict brewing beneath the surface. So, how do you like the neighborhood so far? Claire ventured, trying to keep the conversation light. It is beautiful, but I still feel like a visitor, he replied, his eyes meeting hers, unraveling the barriers she had subconsciously erected. But meeting you and Sophie has made it feel warmer. Claire felt the blush creep to her cheeks. We're glad you're here. It's nice to meet someone who appreciates the little things. Like daisies, he joked, a teasing glint in his eyes. Exactly, she laughed, surprised by how easily the tension melted away. But beneath the laughter lay a current of something deeper, unspoken. Sophie interrupted, twirling in a circle. Can I paint all the flowers in the world? Only if you can capture the magic they hold, Ethan said, glancing at Claire, the unspoken chemistry thickening the air. Magic, ha, she echoed, caught in his gaze. Do you believe in magic? His eyes darkened with intensity. I believe in moments like this one that can change everything. Her heart raced, the words hanging between them like a tantalizing promise. But Claire's mind spun with the weight of her reality. Could she really allow herself to believe in magic again? As they walked, Claire felt a gentle tug of longing. Perhaps this was a sign, a chance for renewal. Yet the shadows of her past loomed, whispering doubts and fears. What if she was just setting herself up for heartbreak? Ethan must have sensed her hesitation. You know, Claire, sometimes the greatest risks lead to the most rewarding experiences, he said gently, his eyes searching hers for understanding. The way he articulated those words sent a shiver down her spine, igniting a flicker of hope. It is easy to say that, Claire replied, trying to keep her tone light, but it trembled with the weight of unspoken fears. But the past has a way of shadowing the future. True, he admitted, glancing ahead as Sophie raced toward a nearby fountain. But isn't that what makes life interesting? A little chaos to keep us on our toes? Claire chuckled softly. You have a way of simplifying things. I admire that. I find that's the only way to stay sane, he responded, his voice playful yet sincere. Do you get much chaos with the little artist running around? A smile broke on Claire's face as she watched Sophie splash at the fountain's edge, her laughter pure and infectious. More than I bargained for, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Seems like you were doing a great job, Ethan remarked, sincere admiration in his tone. Thank you, she replied, her cheeks warming under his gaze. But I often wonder if I am doing enough. Every day you read there for her is more than enough, he said, the conviction in his voice resonating with her. But the warmth of his words sparked an inner turmoil. Was she enough for herself, let alone for anyone else? Sophie ran back, her face gleaming with excitement. Mom, I want to make a big painting of the fountain. Can you help me? We can call it the magical waterfall of dreams. Of course, sweet pea, Claire replied, ruffling her hair. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Ethan watched them, a soft smile lingering on his lips. Wow, you really know how to capture magic, Sophie, he praised, earning a wide grin from her. Thanks, I just imagine all the sparkles. Sophie twirled, her arms outstretched as if she could gather the very essence of the moment. Claire felt the pang of warmth at her daughter's exuberance. She was so innocent, so full of dreams. And you, Claire, Ethan said, turning to her, you read part of that magic. It is clear how much she adores you. The sincerity of his words sent a rush of warmth through her. I try my best, she murmured, a hint of vulnerability escaping. It is not always easy, though. Ethan stepped closer, a gentle understanding in his eyes. It is okay to feel that way. Life isn't meant to be a perfect picture. Just then, a group of children ran past them and Sophie squealed, darting off to join them. Their watch, her heart swelling with pride, but the moment also pulled her back to her own reality. What about you, Ethan? She asked, trying to steer the conversation away from herself. What does your life look like? He hesitated for a moment, a flicker of something shadowing his features. It is complicated, like everyone else has. I've been focusing on my career, building, a life that feels fulfilling. Is that why you moved here, a new beginning? Sort of, he admitted, his voice deepening with thoughtfulness. I needed a change, a fresh start after some personal losses. Claire's heart softened at the hint of sorrow in his tone, resonating with her own struggles. I understand, she replied gently. Life can be unpredictable. Exactly, he said, his gaze lingering on her. But it is also beautiful in its unpredictability. Just then, Sophie returned, her hands wet from the fountain and her face gleaming with happiness. Look, Mom, I found a shiny rock. Let me see. Claire exclaimed, kneeling to inspect the small treasure. That is beautiful, sweetheart. Ethan knelt beside them, captivated by Sophie's enthusiasm. Did you know that each rock has its own story? Just like people. Sophie nodded vigorously. Just like my painting, everyone has their own story, right? Absolutely, Ethan said, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. Claire felt an electric connection as they exchanged glances, the air thick with something unsaid. Do you have a story, Mr. Ethan? Sophie asked innocently, her eyes wide with curiosity. Ethan chuckled lightly, a hint of warmth dancing in his gaze. I do, but it is a long one. Do you think you could handle it? Sophie giggled. I can handle anything. Okay, then. Once upon a time, he began, weaving a tale of adventure and discovery, his voice deep and engaging. Claire watched, mesmerized by the way Ethan brought the story to life. There was something magnetic about him, an allure that ignited a spark deep within her. Yet, a knot of apprehension caught in her stomach. Was this mere infatuation or something deeper? As he spoke, Claire's mind wandered. She could envision him being a part of their lives, sharing laughter and quiet moments, but that vision was quickly overshadowed by doubt. What if this was a temporary escape from her reality? Mom, did you hear that? Sophie interrupted, pulling Claire back from her thoughts. It was so cool. Yes, it was. Claire smiled, her heart swelling with warmth. Ethan turned his gaze toward Claire, a question flickering in his eyes. What about you, Claire? Do you have a story? Though mine is not nearly as exciting, she replied quickly, the instinct retreat kicking in. Just the usual tale of a single mom trying to figure things out. Sounds like a heroic journey to me, Ethan countered, his voice sincere. I think that is incredibly brave. She felt her cheeks flush at the praise. Thank you, but bravery is a relative term, it is just survival. Survival can be heroic, he insisted, his eyes deepening with understanding. You were doing something remarkable by being there for Sophie day in and day out. The intensity of his gaze, the respect in his voice, sent her heart racing. It is my choice, Claire said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. I wouldn't change it for anything. But sometimes it is nice to have someone to share the journey with, he suggested, the gravity of his words hanging between them. Claire felt a rush of vulnerability wash over her. You were right, she replied, a whisper barely escaping her lips. But I am not sure I am ready for that. Ethan nodded, his expression shifting to one of understanding. I get that, it is never easy to open up, especially when the past still lingers. Just then, Sophie came bounding back, her face rosy from laughter, her innocence a stark contrast to the weight of the conversation. Can we go get ice cream, Mom? She asked, eyes sparkling with excitement. Sure, let us go. Claire agreed, grateful for the light-hearted distraction. As they made their way to the ice cream stand, Claire felt the tension between her and Ethan shift to a comfortable ease. They shared laughter and casual banter, and for a moment, the worries of life faded into the background. But as they sat on a nearby bench, ice cream cones in hand, Claire couldn't shake the feeling of something unspoken lingering in the air. Do you believe in timing, Claire? Ethan asked suddenly, his expression serious yet curious. Claire paused, the question weighing heavy. Timing can be everything, she replied, her heart racing. But it is also unpredictable. Like us meeting today, he suggested, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Maybe, Claire said softly, her heart pounding. But life is complicated. I am not sure if I am ready. Ethan leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Maybe you don't have to be ready, maybe you just have to take it one step at a time. The tension in the air thickened, and Claire could feel her defenses wavering. The chemistry between them pulsed with an undeniable energy, pulling her closer to the edge of something new. Before Claire could respond, Sophie interjected, giggling between mouthfuls of ice cream. Are you two going to be friends forever? Claire felt her heart skip a beat, caught off guard. She glanced at Ethan, whose expression mirrored her surprise. Ah, well, he began, the laughter in his eyes softening into something deeper. That depends on how many more magical stories you tell, Sophie. Lots, I can tell the best stories, Sophie declared, her innocence breaking the momentary tension. Claire's heart warmed as she watched her daughter, but inside, uncertainty churned. Did she want this? This connection? The spark between her and Ethan was undeniable, but was she strong enough to navigate the complexities of a new relationship? Ethan reached out, brushing his fingers lightly against Claire's hand, sending a jolt of electricity. Ethan reached out, brushing his fingers lightly against Claire's hand, sending a jolt of electricity through her. The warmth of his touch lingered, a spark igniting in the space between them. Claire's breath hitched, a sensation both thrilling and terrifying. Your stories are definitely compelling, Sophie, Ethan teased, a playful glint in his eyes as he leaned closer to her. But I have a feeling your mom has a few tales up her sleeve too. Sophie giggled, her innocence lighting the moment. Mom has a secret story, she just won't tell it. Claire felt her cheeks heat, her heart racing at her daughter's words. That's not true, she protested, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. I just prefer listening to your stories. Maybe one day, I'll share yours, Ethan said, his tone gentle, his gaze never leaving hers. I'd love to hear what makes you tick. Claire looked away, her fingers curling around her ice cream cone, the chill grounding her amidst the rush of emotions. I am not that interesting, she replied, the familiar self-doubt creeping in. Interesting is subjective, he countered, his voice rich with sincerity. We all have our battles, our victories. Yours are just as important. Battles. Claire echoed, the weight of his words resonating deeply within her. I am just trying to keep everything together. Keeping things together can be a battle, he said softly, a hint of understanding in his voice. You're doing an incredible job, Claire. The sincerity in his tone sent a rush of warmth through her, battling against the insecurities swelling in her mind. Thank you, she whispered, her heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and vulnerability. Sophie, oblivious to the tension, jumped up with excitement. Can we go see the ducks now? Yes, let us go. Claire responded, grateful for the distraction. She needed to shake off the intensity of that moment before it spiraled into something she couldn't face. As they strolled toward the pond, Sophie chatted animatedly about the ducks she had seen last time. Claire found herself walking beside Ethan, their shoulders brushing occasionally, igniting fluttering sensations each time. Your daughter is remarkable, Ethan said, breaking the comfortable silence. She has such a vibrant spirit. She really does, Claire replied, glancing at Sophie, who was now hopping ahead, her laughter echoing like music. She brings so much light into my life. And you're the one who shines that light for her, Ethan said, admiration lacing his voice. It's clear she adores you. But with every compliment, a small part of Claire felt a flicker of fear. I just do my best, she replied, biting her lip. Single parenting is overwhelming sometimes. I can only imagine, he said, empathy woven in his tone. But you're redoing it. That's what matters. Claire felt a swell of appreciation, mingled with the underlying question, was she ready to let someone else in? The thought made her stomach churn. As they reached the pond, Sophie squealed with delight at the sight of the ducks. Look, the duckies are back, she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with joy. Claire watched her daughter, alive with wonder, and the warmth in her heart was both comforting and starkly lonely. Do you think she'll ever tire of ducks? Ethan asked, amusement dancing in his eyes as they leaned against the railing, watching Sophie chase the feathered creatures. Not anytime soon, Claire replied, a smile breaking through her earlier tension. They capture her imagination. And yours. Ethan turned slightly, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that made her pulse race. She hesitated, her heart pounding. I guess I find joy in watching her enjoy the little things, she admitted, the weight of vulnerability creeping in again. But I often forget to find joy for myself. Maybe that's where I can help, Ethan suggested, the corners of his mouth tugging into a smirk. I am great at helping people find joy. Claire chuckled nervously, the flirtation in his tone sending warmth flooding through her. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Perhaps I can introduce you to a few new adventures, he replied, his eyes sparkling with mischief. I could show you how to loosen up. Loosen up, huh? Claire raised an eyebrow, her heart racing. You're very confident for someone who only just moved here. Confident isn't quite the word I'd use, he admitted, a flicker of seriousness crossing his features. I just believe in the possibilities life has to offer. Life isn't predictable, as we both know, Claire replied, her voice softening. It is also complicated. Complicated can be exciting, he countered, leaning in closer, the magnetic pull between them growing stronger. It keeps life interesting. Sophie darted back to them, her hands now wet from the pond's edge. Mom, can we feed the ducks? Claire smiled, her heart swelling with love for her daughter. Of course, do you have the bread? Sophie nodded vigorously, her face aglow. Yes, I can share. As Claire helped Sophie break the bread, Ethan watched, a smile on his lips. There was something beautiful in their dynamic, and he felt a tug of longing that was difficult to ignore. "Here, duckies," Sophie called, tossing bits of bread into the water. The ducks quacked, splashing around, and Claire laughed at her daughter's delight. Ethan felt a warmth spread in his chest as he watched the bond between them. "You two make quite the team," he remarked. "Thank you," Claire replied, her cheeks flushing under his gaze. "It hasn't always been easy, but she is my everything." Ethan's expression softened further. "You're a great mom," he said, sincerity ringing in his voice. "And it is admirable to see how much you care for her." "Thank you, but it is just my job," Claire replied, brushing off the compliment. "It is what I signed up for." "Being a mother is an art," Ethan countered. "You pour your heart into it. That is not just a job, Claire, that is passion." Claire felt the heat rise in her cheeks, the way he spoke making her feel seen. "You were making me blush," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. He chuckled softly, the sound sending shivers down her spine. "That is a good sign, right?" "Maybe," Claire replied, her heart racing as their eyes held. "But it also makes me nervous." "Nervous can be good," Ethan said, inching a bit closer. "It means something meaningful is happening." Just then, a little girl nearby tripped and fell, scraping her knee. Claire's maternal instincts kicked in, and she rushed to her side, comforting the child and helping her back to her feet. Ethan watched Claire effortlessly transition into caregiver mode, a warm smile on his face. "You were amazing," he said when she returned. "Just doing what any mom would do," Claire said, shouting. "It is part of the job description." "But not everyone steps up like that," he insisted, admiration shining in his eyes. "You have a real gift." Claire fidgeted, feeling the weight of his words. "I just try to be there," she replied, her heart racing under the intensity of his gaze. "Being there is what matters most," he said softly, his voice dropping to a near whisper. The vibrations of his words sent a rush of warmth through her. As they stood there, the air thick with tension, Claire felt the world around them fade. It was just her, him, and the flicker of something profound. The question lingered, could she allow herself to step into this? What if I wanted to step beyond just being there? Ethan asked suddenly, the sincerity in his voice breaking through the silence. What if I wanted to be part of your journey? Claire's heart raced as his words sank in. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Maybe I want to help create some magic in your life," he replied, leaning a bit closer, his eyes locking onto hers. The intensity of his gaze caused her breath to hitch. "Ethan, Claire stumbled over her words. She wanted to say yes, to leap into the unknown, but the weight of her past pressed down on her. "I get it," he interrupted gently, sensing her hesitation. "You don't have to decide right now. Just think about it." As Sophie returned with a handful of grass, smiling brightly, the moment shattered. "Mom, can we go to the swings now?" "Sure, sweetheart," Claire replied, forcing a smile as she turned to Ethan. "What about you? Will you join us?" "I wouldn't miss it for the world," he said, his tone lightening, the previous weight lifting. As they walked to the swings, Claire found herself glancing at Ethan, her heart racing with every step. The pull between them was undeniable, but could she really take that leap